Hello, this is Patrick at OneCNC West, and what we're going to do in this training video is continue to apply toolpath to our turn project. In this video, why don't we start by applying a face operation. Now, we really don't need to see the solid model, so I'm going to hit the letter S on the keyboard, and then take my cursor, left-click the solid model, and then I can hit the letter B on the keyboard to hide that selected geometry. That's the blank tool, and you can find that up here as well, the blank current selection tool. All right, so to apply a face operation, let's head over to the command manager and select Lathe Toolpaths. From there, we're going to select the face operation. We're going to take our cursor and we're going to left click on the geometry that we'd like to apply the face toolpath. Once we have selected the geometry, OneCNC presents us with the first dialog box. And this is where we select our tool. Now remember, for all 2-axis toolpaths, you're going to need to select the tool from the tool library. To do that, you can left click on the tool graphic or you can left click on the tool changer button. Now the first tab is the recent tab. This shows us all the tools that we previously used. In fact, you can select any one of these tools by left clicking and then click OK. But for this example, we want to access the tool library. So I'm going to take my cursor, left-click Library, and from there, within the Turn Face group, I can take my cursor and move through the different tools that I might want to use. For this example, let's use that very first tool that has a 35-degree insert. I'm going to click OK, and once we do that, OneCNC selects the tool as well as gives us the tool information in the lower left-hand corner. Now, directly below that, we have Name. This simply is the name of the machining operation. That's the name that's going to be applied over here within the NC Manager. Next to that, we have Notes. For example, I might type in something like face operation. And down here in the gray, this is exactly how the comments or notes are going to appear inside of the CNC program. Notice how there's parentheses that have been automatically added to the beginning and the end of the note or comment. That's because typically most CNC controls will consider anything inside of the parens as a comment. Now if you uncheck this, OneCNC will remove the parentheses, and now this is going to be entered into the CNC program at this time without any parentheses. All right, for this we don't need any notes, so I'm just going to click cancel on that. Now for turret position, I'm going to type in 3. That looks good. Our tool offset looks good at 3. I don't need to worry about the coolant or the offset because the OneCNC post processor is going to take care of that automatically. For feed rate, again, I'm using just 0.005 inches per rev, and for the spindle speed, I'm using RPM at 500. All this looks good, so let's click next on that. Now here within clearance style, this controls how the tool is going to move after the machining operation. 95% of the time, you don't even need to change this. It's only when you're performing more complicated toolpaths that you might want to control how the tool exits from that particular machining operation. For now, we can leave this set to no move. Let's click next on that, and let's take a look at the parameters for the face operation. So to begin with, let's just focus on the first 2 entries and the last 2 entries. Now, the X clearance, that's simply how much is the tool going to rapid along the x-axis before it starts feeding. So in this example, we have 200 thousandths. Now for the entry amount, that's the amount that the toolpath is going to start feeding in reference to the very beginning of the geometry we selected. We selected this line here. OneCNC is going to take the tool, it's going to rapid 200 thousandths along the x-axis, and then it's going to feed 500 thousandths along the x-axis, again relative to the very beginning of the geometry we selected, and then carry on. Now those numbers I entered are very extreme, and those are typically something you wouldn't want to put in there, but I'm doing this just for demonstration purposes, so later on I can easily point out what's happening. Down here we have overcut amount. That's how far past the end of the geometry do we want to apply the toolpath. Remember, here's the end of the geometry here, so if I type in 500 thousandths, the tool is going to feed an additional 500 thousandths past, and then the retract amount set to 200 thousandths means that after the tool has fed 500 thousandths down, it's going to retract along the Z-axis 200 thousandths to finish the machining operation. All right, so for this particular example, let's click Finished and let OneCNC generate the toolpath. Let's preview the toolpath to review the parameters that we set. I'm going to right-hand mouse click the face operation, and then let's select Preview Toolpath. So if we take a look here, you can see that the tool has indeed performed a rapid move of 200 thousandths along the x-axis, and then fed an additional 500 thousandths to the very beginning of the geometry, continued on, fed past an additional 500 thousandths, and then performed a retract move along the z-axis of 200 thousandths. All right, so let's exit out of the toolpath preview and let's enter some values now that are going to be a little bit more common. So let's head down to the NC Manager and let's edit our machining operation. To do that, we're going to right-hand mouse click, select Edit Operation. Now, we don't need to make any changes to the very first dialog box, so we can click Next on that. We don't need to make any changes to this dialog box, so let's click Next on that. All right, so let's change these parameters to something a little bit more efficient. For X clearance, I'm going to type in 50 thousandths. For the entry amount, I'm going to type in 100 thousandths. For overcut amount, I'm also going to type in 100 thousandths. And for the retract amount, I'm going to type in 50 thousandths. That looks good, so let's click Finished and let OneCNC generate the toolpath. Let's take this into the toolpath preview. We're going to right-hand mouse click, select Preview Toolpaths, and now you can see we've performed a small little rapid move of 50 thousandths, 100 thousandths feed in, 100 thousandths pass, and then a retract move of 50 thousandths along the z-axis. Much more efficient. All right, so let's take a look now at some of the other parameters within the face operation. I'm going to right-hand mouse click, select Edit Operation, and again, let's just bypass the very first two dialog boxes by clicking Next and Next. And let's take a look at this option called Roughing Stepover. This means that you'd like to take multiple passes. So I'm going to check this. And here, what you want to do is type in the amount for each roughing pass. In this example, why don't we use 100 thousandths? And then down here, this is simply where you state how much material needs to be removed. So for demonstration purposes, let's type in 400 thousandths. Let's click Finish on that and let OneCNC generate the toolpath. Real quick, we'll go back into Toolpath Preview. And here you can see here's our first pass. Let's speed this up a little bit. Here's our second pass, our third pass, and our fourth pass, each taking 100 thousandths at a time. Very good. Let's further explore the parameters within the facing operation. Again, we're going to right-hand mouse click, Edit Operation. We're going to bypass the very first two dialog boxes by clicking Next and Next. Let's say for this example, we don't need to perform any roughing, so I'm going to uncheck that. Now we have these two parameters to take a look at. Leave amount is if you'd like to leave some material. So if I were to type in 10 thousandths, that means that OneCNC is going to leave 10 thousandths on the face of the part. If I select Finish Pass, OneCNC will then perform a secondary pass and remove that 10 thousandths. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and click Finish, let OneCNC generate the toolpath. Again, let's quickly go back into Toolpath Preview. Here's our first pass, leaving 10 thousandths. Here's our second pass, removing the 10 thousandths. All right, that's it for this training video. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.